As you might know, I love a knit skirt and dress, and the last few months there's so many new patterns that have come out, so I figured this was the perfect moment to do an updated pattern roundup. Welcome everyone to Goodknits. I'm Sherry and I'm a Canadian expat knitting in Amsterdam. If you've been here a while, you know that I love a knit skirt and dress. I've done 2 pattern roundup videos in the past, so one for fall and winter knitting and another for spring summer. And up until last year I hadn't actually made any for myself, and then I just really got into a whole moment of knitting so many things. It started with knitting my MELIDES dress by Vert Knit, which is what I'm wearing today. This was knit last spring for a trip to Sicily that I did, and it was such a big undertaking. I did a whole dress series on it. If you want to go check it out, I'll link it in the show notes below. Then I followed it up with my Fancy Pepita skirt by Anne-Catherine Stoll, which I did a test knit for. Then I knit the staple skirt by New Wave Knitting, and the last thing that I knit was skirt number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So I really love knit skirt and dresses. I think they're really versatile items, and I've been saving patterns the last few months and noticed that I was saving a lot of knit skirt and dresses, which led me to believe that quite a lot have come out. I have done a lot of searching and I've come up with actually 17 patterns that, when I double checked, all appear to have come out just this year, and mostly in the last 3 to 4 months, I would say. So we're not going to get into all the nitty-gritty details of every pattern. I figure this is just going to serve as some inspiration because there's so many beautiful patterns out there. Honestly, my original list was even longer, but I really tried to narrow this down to make sure that we weren't sitting here forever. And of course, if you're looking for inspiration for fall winter knitting or spring summer and you want patterns from a few years ago, you can go check out the previous pattern roundup videos that I did, and I will also link those in the show notes. So we are going to break this into categories. I've got knit skirts, and then we will do knit dresses. And in the knit skirts, I've got 7 patterns to take you through. So the first pattern I want to take you through is the Eva skirt by Sari Nordlund, and this is recommended to be knit in Sadness Garn Line, which is linen cotton blend yarn. Now, personally, I will say I think this is beautiful, but I am wondering the practicality of a lace knit or eyelet knit skirt in everyday wear. I did find a lot of patterns that are similar to this, and most of them are in here, but I'm not sure if I would necessarily knit this for just day-to-day wear. However, I think this could work really well if you're going on a beach vacation, you wanted to cover up, or just something to wear in maybe a tropical location. I don't think personally in Amsterdam this would be something that I would gravitate towards in day-to-day wear, but that's just me. And I think if you put a slit under it that blends in as much as possible with the color of yarn that you've used, it could work really well. I do also really love a coordinating set, and I think the fact that you can knit the top with this, it really looks beautiful together. It looks a little bit like a dress almost, but then you get 2 versatile pieces out of it. And it sounds like this is a lace pattern, which is charted only, it's not written out. So perhaps if you're not as comfortable knitting from a chart, maybe not the pattern for you, but it does look like it'd be fairly straightforward to memorize. The next pattern on the list is in a similar vein, and it is skirt number 2 by My Favorite Things Knitwear. So again, this is more of a lace pattern. It sounds like it's 2 yarns held together, so she recommends knitting for olive merino held with knitting for olive pure silk, which I think would actually make a really nice combo. The thing I like about this is you could knit a matching blouse, so there's blouse number 2 or cami number 11, which is the exact same kind of eyelet yarn over stitch detail. And I know from experience I knit blouse number 2, which wasn't personally my style, but it was a fairly easy pattern to memorize. So once you get into the groove of things, it's quite easy to just get into a rhythm with this piece. Personally, again, not per se my style. I probably would only knit this for a beach vacation, not to wear around Amsterdam, but it is really nice and I think a good option, especially if you maybe want to do a matching set. The next pattern is one by a designer that I've actually never heard of before. I think I found this on Instagram, and that is the Taupe Summer Skirt by Knitters and Friends. And this calls for a Gopard Garn Cotton Waves, which I believe is a bit of a textured yarn. I think there's a similar wave yarn from We Are Knitters as well. It is a bulkier weight gauge, which means it would probably knit up pretty quickly, even though it's a longer skirt. And I think this would just be really, really easy to wear. It's just kind of that maxi skirt vibe, something that probably would be pretty practical in every day. So in the pattern, she mentions that this is meant to sit as a lower on the waist piece, which for me, something sitting below my belly button probably wouldn't make me feel very comfortable. But I imagine it's something where you could easily adjust that and just do a bit more shaping. So maybe cast on less stitches so it sits at your natural waist, and then do increases a bit quicker, because it does sound like you start from the top down. Oh, and actually she mentions right in here that there's also instructions to modify the skirt to be high-waisted. So perfect, that sounds like a bit of a more versatile pattern, has a pretty good size range. Yeah, and she also mentions that you can knit this as a mini skirt. She mentions a 5mm crochet hook in here, so I'm not sure how that's used. Hopefully you're not doing a lot of crochet work, because I know I wouldn't be very good at it, so I would prefer not to. Then the next pattern, which chances are you've probably come across, is the Seashore Skirt by Veronica Lindberg, or Kudavakika. And this is knit with 2 strands of pure silk, knitting for olive held together. So I know from experience with this MELIDES dress that that is a really nice fabric. It drapes really nice. It also doesn't stretch too much. And this is again a lace pattern, so my comment still holds true. I don't know how practical this would be for me. It's also not my personal style here, but I think there's so much detail on this skirt, or it's a much more feminine detailed pattern than typically I would make, but I think this would be absolutely gorgeous. And I really love the way that she styled this in her pattern photos. And it looks like in her pattern photos, she's got 2 lengths for this. One that's more of a midi version and another that's a mini. You get a lot of versatility with this pattern. And if you're looking for a challenge, I think you would definitely get it with this, because there's lots of different lace detail. It looks like it's changing quite a bit. So probably not one where you're going to be able to mindlessly knit, but one that you're definitely going to get a lot of enjoyment out of while you're making it. Then the next skirt is also a coordinating set, and from a designer that I've personally never heard of or knit from before. And this is the 2 in the Afternoon skirt by Yamagara, or Yamagara Knit. And this is knit in Woolfolk straw yarn. I would say this is kind of breaking away from more of the warm weather spring summer knits that the other patterns were, and this is much more getting into fall knitting. So this roundup has no theme. It's literally just patterns that have come out in the last bit that I found interesting. This is a, how is this? Top down tweed stitch skirt, featuring a special no-sew double layered waistband, and you can choose to do it long with a back slit or a shorter version without the slit. So this pattern does look like it's more complicated than it actually is written. So she mentions it's worked using 2 colors and a tweed stitch pattern, which I don't think I've ever used the tweed stitch pattern. So each round is worked with a single strand of yarn, making the pattern beginner-friendly colorwork design. So if you are interested in dabbling in color work, you like the idea of something having multiple colors, this is maybe an approachable pattern so that you get that without needing to actually hold 2 colors of yarn at the same time. And she mentioned something about a special cast on technique so that you don't need to actually sew down the waistband. I would be curious to buy the pattern almost for that, because I really hate the process of folding down the waistband and sewing it together with the elastic in the middle. So curious how she's written that. And there is also a 2 in the Afternoon tank top that you can knit with this. So if you are looking for a coordinating set, this looks like a very interesting pattern. And it looks like there's some really nice shaping at the hips, which gives it a detail there. So for me, I really wear my fancy Pepita skirt a lot, which is a 2-color color work skirt in a kind of jacquard pattern. And I really love that in the fall winter. So this is one that I could see myself knitting in a shorter version. And also just be cool to knit from a new designer because this is somebody that I've never knit from before. Okay, another fall winter knit skirt is the Grayling skirt by Magdalena Parker or Knitonomy over on Instagram. So this appears to be a cable knit skirt. Also comes in a coordinating set, so you could knit the sweater if you like. I really love the idea of a knit sweater and a knit skirt, and it's something that I'm hoping to do. Personally, I have my eye on the Gerda knit skirt and sweater from Eggyo Knit. I showed those previously in a pattern roundup video, but I did really consider knitting this Grayling skirt. I just wonder with the cable here how much extra bulk it might add to the body, but it looks really beautiful and I really love the two pieces together. And the yarn she calls for here is one that I've worked with before, and that's the Acer yarn Jensen, and it's quite a nice yarn, really good for fall winter knits, so I would recommend using that. And then the final knit skirt on this list is the True Love Nulham skirt by Tia Holmes, and again, I have actually never heard of this designer before. She calls for Sinus Garnline, same as the first pattern that we went through by Sari Nordland. And again, this is a lace pattern, so it's got those eyelet details, something that also comes in a matching set. I'm really loving how many matching sets there are here. So I think if I ever work up the courage to actually make a whole piece, there's quite a lot of options in here. And similar to other patterns that we've been through, this does come with a mini and a maxi version. So it looks like both are specified in the pattern, and this one has a picot edge, which I've personally never knit a picot edge before. And the maxi version comes with deep side slits at the hem so that it flows a little bit nicer. So I think if I ever get around to booking a beach vacation again, I haven't been on one in a while, but I think I will probably make one of these patterns that has the lace detail. I think for me it would either be the Sari Nordland one or this one, the True Love, because I think they're just really elegant, really beautiful. Well, most of these patterns today, I think because they're all quite new, there's very few projects on them. So especially for the ones where maybe the designers aren't as well known, you might be taking a bit of a risk. But I was really surprised at how many new designers I found going through this exercise, just how many beautiful patterns are out there. So I've got 10 knit dresses to go through, and honestly, I really had to narrow this list down. I had an even bigger one at the beginning. So the first dress on the list is the Summer Fling dress by Anna Johanna. And I don't think I've ever heard of her before, unless on Instagram, maybe she goes by a different name. I really like this dress. So I think, I've talked a lot about bra-friendly designs and having something that can work for when you have a bigger bust. So that's why I like this MELIDES dress, because I think it works really well with bras. It's very bra-friendly. You can wear it in 2 different ways. And even though this Summer Fling dress is a little bit more revealing, it has the spaghetti straps, it also feels like it has some structure built into it. So depending on the yarn that you use and if it has enough integrity, I think you might be able to get away with not wearing a bra with this, simply because it looks like it might hold you up on its own. Because I don't know if it's the designer in these photos, I assume it is, but I mean, she obviously has a bigger bust size and it seems like it's a very nice supporting dress. So this one's really beautiful. I think this would be a great summer option. It's knitting for all of pure silk. I will say personally, I don't know if I would knit another dress entirely in the pure silk, simply because even at a tighter gauge, so it has more of a transparent quality. So I do find when the light hits it, even this darker petroleum blue that I'm wearing, you can really see through it. So you do kind of need to wear something under it. I would maybe consider finding a different option to knit a summer dress in the future. Maybe something that will hold tighter stitches a little bit better and not be quite as transparent. But I really love this olive green version, and this comes in extra, extra small to 5XL. So really generous size range. And just, it looks like a lot of interesting details within it. Then the next dress I think is one that I am most likely to knit, maybe even in the fall. And that is the sidewalk dress by Spectacle Strick, or Me Furring. And this is calling for Rama, I am going to not say this name correctly, Rama Chuk Bommel yarn, which is Aran weight. So actually, I think this would knit up really, really quick. Now, it said it's meant to be knit at a tighter fit. So you can do a relaxed fit version or knit one that's a bit more body hugging. So this is a designer that I've never heard of, and there's only one pattern photo and 4 projects to go with it. So obviously hasn't been knit a lot, but I do think, you know, based on similar dresses that I've had in the past, this looks like it'd be a really basic and easy to throw on piece. And the fact that it's knit in Aran weight yarn, I think it'd be really quick to knit up. So I think I would probably just take the risk on this one and buy it and see how it goes. So I really like that one. I just wish there was a bit more pattern photos to go with it. Then the next dress on the list is the Campanula dress by Anna Herman Sorensen. And I think I've seen a few people knit this top. So this Campanula dress, I think, is taking inspiration from her top that she designed last year, which I know Anne-Sophie from Candid Knit made, and that's how I know about this pattern. Personally, not my style. I don't think I would make this because I think the ribbing would just make my chest look a little bit larger, and it's a little bit too feminine for my taste. But this is knit in BC Garn BioBalance. I just knit with that yarn. It's really nice. It also holds the stitch definition really nice. And this is knit in a regular rib pattern with ruffled edges and knitted top down with a saddle shoulder construction and customizable decreases and increases at the waist so that you can get the best fit. I really like when dress patterns do that, where you can actually tailor it a bit. That's why the MELIDES dress works so nicely, because you really took all your measurements and then adjusted the pattern at different points to make sure it fit you best. If your style is more of the romantic kind of look, I think this is really beautiful. Now, this next dress, I'm actually not sure when it came out. This might be the only one that is a little bit older, but I only just came across it, so I think it's on the newer side. And that is the Zagger dress by Pickles. I think Pickles actually makes quite a lot of different dress and skirt patterns. I have heard her name in the past. So personally, I don't usually like this chevron detail in 2 colors, but I think for a summer dress, this is really beautiful. And at least, you know, everybody that's modeling it looks really fantastic in this pattern. And I think all the different color options here are really inspiring. This is sport weight, and the suggested yarn is Pickles Sumerall. Again, it has options for both a short and long version in the pattern. And even though it looks really complicated with the chevron, it does say it's easy. So no advanced techniques are used, but you need to be able to navigate a knitting pattern with somewhat unusual instructions. So maybe if you're a beginner knitter, you really like this and you're looking for a bit more of a challenge, this could be a good option. This would just be a really nice summer dress. I think it's so cute in both the short and long versions. I think the only thing I don't like about this one is it does look like on the hem it's doing the chevron pattern still. I think personally I would want to modify and try to just do a straight across hem. I don't really like the kind of pointy chevron detail continuing there. Then we have the Fanny dress by Ingrid Dibb. So I actually just came across her. I saved one of her sweater patterns as well to consider knitting for fall. But this is, again, one that calls for the Gapard Garn Cotton Waves yarn that we talked about in the earlier skirt, I think the Taupe skirt. And you can also knit in Sadness Garn Tick Line, so that is the cotton linen blend. This is a really similar fit to the sidewalk dress that I showed a little bit earlier. It is a heavier weight yarn, so this calls for bulky weight. I think it would knit quite quick, and it has really nice shape. I think this would just be an easy piece to throw on. Okay, then we have the Hun Tee and Dress by Aegyo Knit, and this is knit up in 2 yarns held together. So she calls for gapard garn, cashmere lace held with gapard garn horse silk, and that makes for a sport weight yarn. So this is one where it sounds like the pattern comes in either a tank top version, or you can go ahead and knit it into a full dress. Simple texture, made of knits and pearls, and it's meant to have a drapey fit with a drop shoulder. So I feel like this is one that could be quite cute with a button up underneath it in fall and winter. I think it could be a really great layering piece, also with some boots. It's not super form-fitting. It looks like you can just throw it on, maybe wear it with a blazer. This is one that I could maybe see myself making. This just seems like a really nice yarn combo of the cashmere lace and silk. I've never worked with that combo before, so yeah, I imagine that would feel quite nice on the skin. Would definitely provide a nice drape. Then the next dress is the dress number 1 by My Favorite Things Knitwear, which, to be honest, I'm kind of surprised it took her this long to come up with a dress, because I've seen a few people do this modification to actually make blouse number 1 into a dress. So this is knit up in either Rama Petunia or Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. People really love making dresses in the Knitting for Olive Pure Silk. If you're a fan of her blouse number 1, which I know a lot of people are, I think this is a really nice version. I do find in these photos the dress doesn't seem to have a lot of shaping at the waistline, so it does look a little bit like it's just hanging on her. It's a little bit hard to tell from these photos. And like the blouse, this is just a long sleeve dress with a boat neck, and the sleeves do a little bit of a bell out at the end. Personally, I would just do it, I think, straight down. I don't really like that more bell sleeve that the blouse has. And it says actually it has a tight fit, but it will stretch with washing and wear. So you're supposed to calculate a negative ease of approximately 10 centimeters. But it's interesting because in the pattern photos, it doesn't really look like it has negative ease, but then maybe, yeah, as you're wearing it, the silk is stretching out a little bit more, and that's what leads to the wider fit. So that's our first dress. Like I said, kind of surprised it took her that long. It's nice to see that there is finally a pattern for this, because so many people were doing that modification. Then I have 2 patterns by the same designer, and they both came out recently. So one is the Limoncello dress by Ulan Knitwear. She's been coming up with quite a lot of, I think, knit skirt and dresses the last bit. This again is Knitting for Olive Pure Silk, and it has more of a triangle cup top, spaghetti straps, and just like a simple back. And then it sounds like this one has an elastic band within the underbust so that you could get a little bit more fit there. I would find this really hard to wear for myself because it doesn't really work nicely with bras. But I want to include this because I think this would fit a lot of people really well. So I thought that this was a good one that probably a lot of people would consider making. And in the Ravelry, she also includes the yardages for mini, midi, and maxi length. So it sounds like the pattern does include instructions for all of those, and you can then choose what you want to do for your specific version. Then the next version from her, I couldn't actually find on Ravelry, so I'm not sure when this came out, but I'm pretty sure it's recent because I saw it on her Instagram. So it's the Lagoon dress, and this is switching more to fall winter. This is just more of an A-line shape. I think it's really a dress that's meant to be worn over some sort of button-up or blouse, and this would just be, I think, really perfect. So for some reason, this link isn't working for me. The main pattern link is, but the English or Norwegian are not. So I just double checked her Instagram, and it does say that it came out already and the pattern's available on her website, but it just does not seem to actually be working. So hopefully by the time I get this video posted, this pattern will be back online. but it sounds like the Lagoon dress is available. I just can't check then the actual yarn or anything to give you details on this, but this is a really nice fall winter pattern and hopefully it will be available soon. And then personally, I feel like I'm saving the best for last, and that is a pattern that was just released, I think a couple days ago from when I'm filming this, and that is the girl dress by Vert Knit. So same designer as the MELIDES dress that I'm wearing. I am personally such a huge fan of Ines, the designer behind Vert Knit. This dress is stunning. So I think she knit this for her engagement photos last year, and then she finally just did the pattern, put it into testing. Quite a few people that I follow were part of the test knit, so I'm seeing many different versions of this right now, and I think it's just another pattern where she's done such a stunning job and really thought through everything. I think especially if you are a smaller busted woman, this is great. You could probably do the lower back, get away with wearing it without a bra, and you would have no issues. But the thing I like about this, so I messaged her to say, hey, like, if you do have a larger chest, are there modifications? And she said that there are. So for some sizes, I think she said size 5 and up, there's already taking into account having slightly thicker straps, but you could do that modification for the smaller sizes as well. And then she also has the option to add back panels. So if you don't want the low, deep back, you can knit 2 additional panels that you sew in, and that way you do have some additional coverage at the back. Then I believe, yeah, so it has a cinch fit at the waist with 0 ease, perfectly tailored with an elastic waistband. So there is some structure there to hold you up. Yeah, so the thing I like about this is with the test knit, she also makes sure that, you know, people of all different sizes are participating. So you can see from the pattern photos that many different body types have knit this, and it looks great on everyone, very much like the MELIDES dress, where, yeah, just I'm so blown away by this pattern. I don't know how practical it is in my life. Like even the MELIDES dress, I really love this, but in Amsterdam, I don't tend to wear it. I'm not sure why. It just doesn't really feel like it's my Amsterdam style, and I knit this specifically for vacation. I think the girl dress is another one where I don't know if I would knit it to wear here, but I would love to make this for a trip. So I think the second I get anything booked that is worthy of this dress, this is something that I would probably consider making. I just think, again, I probably wouldn't make it in the pure silk again, so I'd want to go through and see if any of the testers knit it in something else and how that looked. Also, just because I think I've kind of run through most of the pure silk colors that I want to knit from. Just wow, I could keep looking at that dress all day. Those are all the knit skirt and dresses that I had for you today. I would love to know in the comments if there's anything here that you're thinking of knitting for yourself or that you have knit, what you think of it, what yarn you used. Please go ahead and share that. And as always, I will continue to keep my eyes out for patterns that are new that I can share here. I was looking at my YouTube statistics, and I think 6 of the top 10 search terms that people find me through are knit skirts and dresses. So clearly I've carved out a little bit of a niche for myself here on YouTube, and even if I don't knit most of this stuff, I really love being inspired by it because I think it goes out of the norm a little bit of what we think of knitwear to be. So you always think of knit sweaters and cardigans, and I just think knit skirts and dresses are a little bit off the beaten path, and they're so special. So anytime I do wear the knits that I made for myself, I get so many compliments, and I'm always just really proud. And especially like this MELIDES dress here that I'm wearing, I feel really proud and like I accomplished something. Like this is by far the biggest project that I've done and the one that I'm most satisfied with because I finished it and I stuck through what was a difficult project for me. So thanks so much for being here today. It was really fun to run through these patterns with you, and I will keep you posted on what else I find. I'll see you in the next episode.